Chicago.
Hello, and thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Mike Tellerino. I'm the CEO and founder of K9 for Veterans. I'm here tonight with Angie Walk and Brian Rowland. Brian is the director, I guess, of the Safe Haven.
Founder, CEO.
That's it. Okay. Brian, why don't you start out with telling us a little bit about Safe Haven?
Sure. Safe Haven, we run the largest homeless shelter in Chicago. We serve a lot of special populations. I'm an Army vet. Veterans are a priority population for us. We actually have the contract with the VA for Vision 12, which is Wisconsin, Illinois, and Indiana for providing transitional housing. And we process about 5,000 people a year through our main campus, moving them to permanent housing and self-sufficiency. And we develop real estate. Right now I'm developing 3 projects, 90 units for veterans, a block west of our main campus at Roosevelt, California, 75 in Hobart, Indiana, and we're converting the Roseland School or Pullman School in West Pullman to 60 units of senior housing with veteran preference. So everything we do is trying to get people permanently housed and employed or self-sufficient.
So Brian, let me understand this. You're going to be building a complex that'll house 90 veterans?
Yes.
And how does that work? And how long do they stay there for? What does it take to get them into the program? What are the specifics on that?
Well, the 90 units has 75 VASH vouchers, which are Section 8 vouchers for vets, and then 15 are funded through the City of Chicago Local Housing Trust Fund. Basically, the VA sends the vets to us, and they are eligible to live there, and the voucher covers the majority of their rent. And the VA provides a lot of the case management support services, and our main campus is less than a block away, so they also can tap into our resources, being the workforce development. We run a food pantry every Wednesday that feeds about 300 families, and then we have a lot of other activities. So this project really is funneled through the VA, but it's permanent housing. It's what they call permanent supportive housing. Okay. So it's their housing permanent.
So it's not a shelter, it's not temporary, it's a permanent housing situation.
It's efficiency apartments, about 400 square feet, that have their own apartment, kitchen, bathroom. They're fully furnished. And there's case management and a computer room and support there, and then they get the full resources of our main campus down the street.
Brian, what does it take to qualify for something like that?
As far as a veteran?
Yeah, a veteran. For him to get
it's a matter of income. It's really for low income. So as long as you make below a certain threshold, it's called average median income. So if the average median income in the area is $30,000 a year, and you make 60% of that, then you qualify. And some of them are 60% slots, some are 30% slots for the very low income, but it's all based on income eligibility. So the VA sends us vets, and then we make sure they qualify, because we have to comply with the funding. And then once they have a lease, that's their apartment.
Is there a certain amount of time that they're able to stay there, or is it an indefinite thing? It's permanent housing.
We have 169 units at Wabash and 6th Avenue, Harrison and Wabash, where the biggest need we have is more of that housing, because people do not move out.
When do you anticipate this program to be?
We're hoping to start construction in spring and be done by the end of December 19, and the 75 in Hobart, Indiana, the same time frame.
Wow, that's amazing.
But the West Pullman should be done actually, I think, May.
So I guess by this you could say with all certainty that there's really a need for housing for our veterans.
There's a tremendous need. With all the building boom in Chicago, a lot of the SROs and one-bedrooms are not really affordable anymore, or even existence, because they've been converted to market rate. Yep. So there's a huge need for this, and there's a shortage. Plus, it's very expensive to live in Chicago.
How big is this problem with the homeless veterans, from what you know about it here in Chicago?
Well, we serve 800 to 1,000 a year through our main campus, housing them for 90 days on average. The problem is bigger than we know, because the vets are very proud, so they're not the ones really come forward to ask for help. And when they do ask for help, it's usually their level of need is much greater than your average person in crisis. So I think the problem is bigger. It's understated by I don't know what the factor is, but I think it's larger because a lot of the vets will not come forward.
Yeah, well, they're proud.
Exactly.
I think that's a lot to do with it, is that they're
Yep.
proud to ask that they need help.
Yep.
Angie, why don't you tell us about your story? Why don't you tell us what happened with you when you were discharged? First, tell us a little bit about your background.
I am a service-connected Navy veteran. I was a jet engine mechanic while I was on active duty. When I was discharged and I came home. I was discharged from California and I came back home to Chicago, home to stay with my mom. And I know that's a big problem with veterans when they're discharged, that the military, there's nothing set up for permanent housing for them. So when veterans are discharged, they're going back to their home of residence and then they're starting off from scratch. And like you said, veterans are really proud.
So if you don't have a place previously before you were discharged to go back to, what do you do then? Where do you go?
Well, for me, I went home, but to my mom, to my parents' home.
So you
But
had-
for a lot of veterans, there's no mom to go home to. So
Right.
that plays a big part in the homeless vet, because when they are discharged, they're coming home and they're coming home to the streets.
So when you came home and you were staying with your mom, and then you were going to go out on your own.
Right. And I had to actually start from scratch. I had my GI Bill, so I did use that and I went to school, but it took a while for me to go to school. And with the Montgomery GI Bill, you only get 10 years to use it after you're discharged. So when I got out of the service, I didn't use my GI Bill for 6 years. So when I did use it, I got an associate's degree and I was out in the workforce because I had children. So the rest of my GI Bill just expired.
So did you have any experience with being homeless?
Yes, I did. Well, last year, 2 years ago, I relocated back to Chicago because I was living in Minnesota. And when I relocated back to Chicago, I stayed with my mom again. I got an apartment, I got a job. But 6 months into that position, there was an acquisition and they moved all the jobs to Costa Rica. So I didn't have a job. And I had a problem. I had an accident. My car was crashed. And so I was out of a car and out of a job. And no way to be able to pay my rent. So I did call the VA. And I asked for some help. I'm like, I'm a veteran, I'm a service-connected veteran, and I'm about to be homeless. I need some help.
You were about to be homeless.
I was about to
You
be
weren't
homeless.
homeless yet.
No, I wasn't homeless yet. And the VA directed me to an organization, a nonprofit organization, Catholic Charities. And Catholic Charities, they have a program set aside for veterans, social services for veteran families. And they have a program where they try to keep veterans from becoming homeless. So
Right.
if you're in a position where you're about to become homeless, like I was, they have a 6-month program where they put you in a program, they pay your rent, and they assist you with any other needs you have. Like I needed to be employed. So they gave me bus cards, they gave me job training, they sent me out to a place where I can get clothing for interviews. But a lot of veterans don't know about these programs.
So-
And that's the problem. When you go to the VA is not telling you, well, you have this program, you have this program. I only found
A lot
out
of
about
misinformation.
a lot of misinformation.
So if it wasn't for organizations like A Safe Haven,
Yes,
Catholic Charities, the homeless population for veterans would be even bigger than it is today.
it would.
Sure, well, particularly, you remind me, women veterans, having children,
It blocks you out. They don't
blocks
have
you out,
anywhere for you to go.
the VA covers the soldier, not the family.
Not the family. That's
And so,
exactly right.
We've
The
always.
male soldier.
Yeah, so we've always, no, female, male, they cover the veteran, but they won't cover the spouse or the children. So we have programs.
So the
that do
benefits
that.
stop with the veteran.
Right, well, a mom can't come in and leave her children.
Right.
Exactly.
So they're kind of between a rock and a hard place.
That's exactly right.
So last year, well, no, 2 years ago, we built 35 new homes for veteran families.
That's amazing.
In Melrose
It really
Park,
is.
because our biggest need was, I mean, I'm in recovery, and I've been sober for 20 years, and I was
God bless.
homeless, and I lived in a place that saved my life and changed my life. But in my experience, it was anyone, man or woman, can work McDonald's and get back on their feet. But if you have children,
What do you do?
It's a much bigger,
It is a huge
hurdle.
because I'm also in
Yeah.
recovery. I
Yeah.
have 15 years clean, and I got clean in Minnesota, and I had a huge problem with that with the VA because I had 2 children, and they didn't have a place for us to go. When I got out of treatment, I had 30 days clean. I had 2 kids. The VA told me they only have places for men. I said, I have 2 kids. I'm a vet.
And you're a veteran with kids.
And they're like, I'm sorry, but we can send you to a shelter, but not a shelter for veterans because
You know,
we don't have anything for you.
I had a veteran on our show not too long ago. He was within 2 weeks, I think, of losing his place to live. So he called the VA and asked the VA, said, look, you need to help me find a place to live because I'm going to be homeless in a few weeks. They said, well, call us back when you are homeless because we can only help veterans that are homeless. So I said, wait a minute, I'm going to be homeless in 2 weeks. So why would you wait till I'm homeless to assist me in finding a place? Now, wouldn't it be much easier to find me a place from now? And they said, no, that's just the way it is. It's the rules. So how does that make any sense to anybody?
it depends where they're calling. Like the VA has what they
I don't
call
get it.
community resource referral centers. And we have one in our building.
Yep.
So vets, it used to be the vets would have to go to Jesse Brown Hines to get referred to us.
Right.
But now they come directly to CRC, and not just move in our place the same day, but it's also their shared office space for all the community providers. And so that staff could be much more aware of what resources there are to help than calling the VA. We're talking to someone at the VA hospital. You know, any large system is very segmented, so they may not know.
That's exactly right. They don't know.
Yeah.
So how does a veteran know where to call? How would a veteran even find out about a safe haven? How would they know? If somebody didn't tell them and say, hey, look, call
That's
a safe
correct.
haven, how would they know you're out? The VA's not going to point it out.
And that's the problem. That's why the homeless population is so huge because the VA, they're not giving us that information.
And why, in an organization like yours, Catholic Charity, why could your organizations be so successful at helping veterans find a place to live? God bless for what you're doing. 90 veterans are going to have a permanent place to stay because of a safe haven. Why, the VA, why can't they do this for us?
It's not that they can't, and my
I
attitude's
don't get
changed
it.
over 20 years. My
Okay.
dad's a combat vet, and I've been through a lot with him. He's now in a memory care, but the VA's been wonderful to him.
Okay.
In Missouri, and then I moved back here, and it's been wonderful. So my viewpoint has changed a very lot.
You know,
But, you know, it's a big system, and
but we
with
know
any
what
big
the
system-
problem is. We know the problem. Why can't we fix it? I guess that's the most frustrating part
Because
for me.
we don't have as a veteran, we don't have the information from the VA. As a veteran, the only thing we're going to know is to
what
go
you're-
to the VA.
So what you're telling me, the veteran organization, the VA needs to do a better job putting it out.
Exactly.
They do, and they do have a hotline. In the last 5 years, they've really made quantum leaps.
Oh, you know what? I'm not here.
Help and resources.
I'm not here talking bad about the VA.
Yep.
They do a lot of great things. They help a lot of people. I understand that. But there's so many broken parts to this that could be fixed, and they know what the problem is, but they're not fixing it. I guess that's the most frustrating part for me.
But, okay, look at it from a city and a state perspective. I mean, the resources are really federal.
Right.
They
Okay,
do
that's
put
right.
out a lot of resources, like we're building this building with federal tax credits.
Right. And that's,
It's financed with HUD-VASH vouchers, so it's federal resources, but we had to apply for that and go through it. So I really think the city and the state need to do a better job help facilitating to be able to make sure that veterans know those resources are there and stay on top and current
I
of it.
guess
Like,
what-
like the CRC can do. You know, it really needs to be broadened so that, you know, the city doesn't really have the money to help. You know, they'll help
Federal
support
government
it,
has.
honor vets.
but you have to apply for that.
Right, which is expensive. I mean, we have a full-time grant department that just
Right.
applies for stuff. But, so if the state and the city can help coordinate services, and like there's a great effort in Illinois Joining Forces where they're trying a website to help coordinate all providers so a vet can really on their phone really link in and find resources.
But it's
it-
really difficult for a veteran that is homeless
Yeah.
to have to go to the VA and ask for services. And we have services out here, like what he's saying, but the VA is not giving us that information.
Okay, so how do we fix that? Well, What's your recommendation?
I think it's, education. I think really the state and the city need to be able to help facilitate, to be able to educate people, to be able to tap into those resources.
Okay.
But how does a veteran who doesn't know, who gets discharged, doesn't know what services are out there, such as a safe haven, how do they get pointed in that direction? How could we help them not be homeless? Find them a place like yours.
Because there are resources out there, because like what he's saying, my viewpoint of the VA has changed. Because the VA, they came through for me. They helped me not become homeless. They gave me a car,
I know,
They did, but that's because I went to Catholic Charities, and Catholic Charities told me about these resources, how to get a job at the VA.
Shouldn't the VA be doing that?
I agree. The VA should be doing that.
That's where the shortfall comes in. The VA is not putting it out to the veterans where they can go to get this help. The VA is not telling our veterans that have PTSD where they could go get a service dog.
It's a big system. They've done a lot of marketing. There's a toll-free number, but really,
there's a lot of
you need
services
boots
out
on the
there.
ground.
Yeah, you do. There's a vet center all over the place where veterans can go. They can
Right.
get free counseling. They can get free legal care, but they just don't know.
No, they don't know. And really, I'm involved in a lot of veteran organizations, and I'll meet a group that is a veteran organization, and they know nothing about us.
Wow.
We have about 1,000 vets a year go through our stand-down every year. And most of them, that's a big, not only us giving resources to vets and clothing, boots, medical care, but it's a way to communicate to them
It is.
resources.
They have a stand down that's coming. I believe it's next month in November.
Yep.
They have a new because they just had one.
But vets communicate with vets.
Right.
Right. Well, here's something that bothers me. Military veterans account for 11% overall homeless population in America. So 11%.
That is a sad
of our-
fact.
That is very sad.
No one who wore a uniform should be homeless.
I guess the point that aggravates me more than anything is that you go out, you serve our country, you come back, you fulfilled your obligation to our country, and you come back and you're homeless, and the government, the VA looks at you like, you served your...
But really, this can be addressed. Remember when you're what do you call it, discharging, you're getting short?
That's
And
right.
you got to go
It can
through
be
all the
addressed
different
in.
agencies.
Exactly.
That's where it needs to be addressed. That
But
before
we
they're
have-
homeless, they have those resources, or at least be given, go to this app.
But
that
he's
veteran
talking
with
about
driver's license,
Right.
but that's really to get vets to register so they
So,
know how many vets are here.
Statistically, you have an idea of what's
But we have
registered.
veterans on the streets now.
Right.
So what do we do with those veterans?
Here's another statistic. Approximately 40,000 homeless veterans, almost 25,000 of them are living in temporary facilities. But that leaves more than 15,000 without reliable shelter. Again, how do we combat that? How do we
It's a
how do we
sad
change
fact.
that?
There's been drastic efforts addressing it. The numbers have gone down.
Can you imagine if there wasn't a safe haven, or there wasn't a Catholic charity helping our
I
veterans?
think we have a caller.
Oh, come on, caller, come on in. Send the caller through, please. Come on in. Hello?
Hello, Mike. This is Derek.
Derek, how are you?
I'm good. My question is, now these veterans that are already homeless, they have no way to know where to go.
Right.
Right, we were just discussing that, and I think that what really needs to be addressed with the VA is getting the word out to our veterans.
Well, then the vet centers need to be doing a better job, or do we need more of those?
Well, the VA is doing what they can. I'm sure they're overtaxed and overburdened with what they have, but there's got to be a way that we could do this better. There shouldn't be any veteran being homeless out in this country. Just shouldn't be. Again,
No.
we had Safe Haven, we've got Catholic Charities, doing everything they can to provide housing for these guys. I just would like to find some way to get the word out to these veterans that there are places like yours that can help them.
But it has to happen at every level. It has to, before they're discharged. The first time they go to the VA, the first time they get a driver's license.
They need to have-
Every
VA
one of those is an entry point where the information should be shared.
I agree with that. Now, that's a really good point. Once they go to the hospital, because that's where the veterans are going to go. That's the first place that they're gonna go if they need help. They're gonna go to the VA. That's the first thing that you're gonna think as a veteran. Go to the VA. But if you go to the VA and you don't get any help, veterans are really proud. They're not gonna go back.
So
and
what-
that leaves them on the streets.
So then what's the answer? I guess that's the
The VA needs to give us the
million-dollar question.
information.
How do we get them to do that? Do we need a better liaison between the veterans and the VA? Do we need it to be put out publicly? I guess I don't get it.
Because there are programs out there.
There are, I mean, there's been changes due to bad things that have happened and because of new resources being directed and because it's been just, it's a national embarrassment to have so many homeless veterans.
Exactly,
Yes.
and that's, I think that's what bothers me the most, that you went and served your country, you come back home, and you're gonna be homeless on the street? How does that happen?
But the more we educate everyone, every alderman should know that these resources are available. Every entry point you can. If there should be a number or an app where, that's not
Exactly.
intrusive because vets are proud. You have a non-intrusive way to get that to reach out for help.
Right. As a veteran, when you were released, did you know where to go and what to do?
Absolutely not. After I got released, I didn't have any contact with the VA until at least maybe 7 or 8 years after I was out. I had no idea that I could go to the VA and get resources. The VA
So no
hospital.
one bothered to tell
No.
you this? No?
I mean, through word of mouth. When I went into recovery, there was a veteran that was in recovery as well, and he told me, he said, "You're a vet, you need to go to the VA hospital." And I said, "For what?" He told me, "So that you can get your benefits, so that you can get services, so that you can get help." I never knew anything about that.
It's amazing, it really is. Something's gotta be done. I mean, for us to depend on organizations like yourself, Safe Haven, Catholic Charities, thank God you guys are out there, I'm gonna tell you right now, because there'd be a lot more homeless veterans, as you know.
There would be, and, it's an honor to help, but there is no simple answer. You really just we have to keep on just trying to get the word out there. I mean, I think there's a lot more information and access now than in previous years.
Is there a waiting list, like, for your organization?
Not for vets.
Not for vets.
I mean, for every other population, but vets,
Do you have housing for women and children?
oh, sure.
Oh, wow. Okay.
See? I mean, you wouldn't have known that unless he was here tonight talking.
That's exactly
We have
right.
400
Our
vets on our main
viewers-
campus and 200 are.
We gotta wrap this up, but I wanna thank both of you for coming on tonight. A Safe Haven, I've worked with your wife in the past, and it's just an amazing organization. What you and your organization does for the veterans, it's a gift, it really is. Catholic Charities too, what they did to help you to get back on track, all I can say is God bless, because you know what, you guys are really, really doing it. You're really putting it
Thank you.
together for our
And
veterans.
you're doing a great thing with
Well,
your efforts and.
we work together, and I guess hopefully by tonight what this shows that we'll be able to get the word out
Yes.
to veterans to know and that's the purpose of this show, is to let the veterans know that there is help, where they can go. They're not just out there. They're not alone. They don't have to be alone. That they can turn to other organizations. So again, I'd like to thank you guys for coming on our show tonight. Help spread the word where they can go for help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.